Core TV News now provide a platform for live coverage of political rallies and electioneering campaign from anywhere in Nigeria. Political news stories, political editorial reviews, political discussions, personality profile, People's Parliament from the National, State and Local Government Assembly. Contact us now on 0803-471-8550 or 0803-724-9733. 01453-3407.
Our 24-hour news station.
Hip, hip, hip! Hip, hip, hip! Louder! Hip, hip, hip! I've said it earlier.
Welcome back. It's Core Digest as we continue to talk about the security threat in Nigeria. The big question on the show is who still needs the NYSC. You saw the passing out parade earlier. Comes with a lot of glamour and coloration. And of course, it still remains a pride even 40 years after. I'm still here in the studio with the retired Colonel Hassan Stanlambo. Thank you very much for staying the course on the show today.
Thank you.
In the course of fighting terrorism in Nigeria, earlier we established the benefits of NYSC as a scheme in uniting young Nigerians across board. But what role specifically do you think core members can play in this peculiar challenge of terrorism in the country?
I would want to address the role they can play under what I'll call citizenship participation.
Okay.
All right? And by that, I mean that as citizens of this country, they should see themselves playing very patriotic roles, such as ensuring that they share information with security agencies, ensuring that the environment in which they live in, they open their eyes wide, see something, say something, like the slogan goes. You know, you don't just live the way we have always lived, like Nigerians. We are a very unconscious people. But thank God, this security consciousness is now coming in. So as much as possible, I expect them, as very young leaders, to avail serious leadership in this area of information gathering, availing information to law enforcement agents, helping out, noting strangers within their midst, and so on. And whatever community they exist in, they should ensure that they are part of the security groupings there, form vigilante groups, and so on. Awaken the consciousness of the community towards security.
In a few days from now, the Batch B core members, I believe for 2014, the camps will be opening in different parts of the country. We established earlier all the challenges, the poor infrastructure, the not too good welfare package and all of that. What would you expect from that average Nigerian in the area of patriotism to serve and remain loyal to the cause irrespective?
Loyalty and patriotism has nothing to do with the conditions in which you find yourself. It's like saying because there is poverty in a home, you cease to love your wife, or the wife ceases to love the husband. If you are loyal to your country, you have that patriotic zeal and drive in you, you must do everything in the national interest to ensure that your country is able to forge on despite all the shortcomings and challenges. Ours become even more challenging when you see that it is those who are in power who should actually be helping to avail certain succor that are even milking the society of what should be collectively our, common, what do I call it? Common.
Our common ground for unity.
Yes. So they have a great role to play. And then they should take time off as much as possible to select their mentors. I know that is a very, very, very difficult one to do because today mentors have become very few. Very few. In those days, you could look up to political leadership and pick mentors from there. If you make the mistake of doing that today, you might end up picking thieves and armed robbers in power as mentors. So they should, in picking their mentors, they should please look in this, within the society. Don't be carried away by all these siren-blowing people. Look within your society and your environment. You see elders who have integrity, whom you can look up to, and so on.
Well, this security threat that has, contributed to the limitations of the scheme as it is, the proponents, of the school of thought who do not agree with not allowing core members to serve in certain area are of the opinion that what then happens, of course, Boko Haram has claimed to, to have struck already in Southwest, in Lagos. Of course, we've heard about series of bomb attacks in Abuja. Are we saying that also as soon as a particular terror act occurs in the states, then we begin to sideline that state from the functions of the NYSC?
Like I said earlier on, the objectives of the NYSC are quite clear and they're noble. We must be fair and frank to ourselves. And that there are one or two challenges here and there which does not allow for one out of the 8 or 9 objectives to be fully realized. It's not enough excuse for us to want to brand the scheme as not being a laudable scheme. Fine, agreed, the scheme is due for review. Serious overhauling right now because it needs to be put in line with the aspirations of a country who is in a haste to move forward in the 21st century. So when you take all that into cognizance, excuse me, when you take all that into cognizance, all we need to do as a nation is to sit down, take a good look again at the scheme and see what we think should be done in tinkering with the scheme without losing sight of the main concept that is behind the scheme itself.
Before we let you go today, let's just look at the new trend that the security threat has taken in Nigeria. The use of female suicide bombers, the use of minors. A 10-year-old boy was arrested with explosives laden, on his body. How do you react to these terrifying dimensions?
Frankly, Nifemi, the use of females as suicide bombers is not really a new development in terrorism. It's been there. It's only that the dimension it took was it as of 2009 when Al-Qaeda decided to form what we today know as the Boka Brigade. The Boka Brigade was formed with the sole intention of making sure all Western objects and all Western targets in Afghanistan were brought down. Okay? And why is it that mainly there is a preference for females to be used? It is because of the restriction placed on the search of females in the Muslim world. So it is easier using them because they will be able to pass through search points with all these IEDs hidden underneath their veil, and so on. So it was easier using them. All you need to do now is to make sure you are able to indoctrinate them adequately to accept to go on such a mission. And some of them volunteered on their own because they were going on personal vengeance mission. Those who had lost loved ones and so on. And things like that. So it's not a new development. So younger terrorist group like Boko Haram and so on, imagine within the West African shores, immediately bought into such opportunities. And Boko Haram for sure, they would even want to overdo it. I just pray they are not using our 200 girls whom we are still waiting to rescue from them.
And none of that
I
has
just
been
pray so.
confirmed yet. You
Yeah.
talked about overhauling the NYSC scheme.
Yes, please.
There's this issue of religion as regards the uniforms of the members of this scheme. Some will tell you that as a young Muslim lady, I should be in my hijab and then I can't wear the short, especially for the orientation camps. And there's been a lot of talk as regards maybe that should be part of the overhauling to, include religious dressing in the uniform of the NYSC. As someone who's experienced in that area, how does that affect the quality?
Religion is a very, do I say, a touchy issue, especially in this country. I would want to say that, look, we should give some allowance to accommodate people who have such views. The only thing, we should be able to ascertain, okay, what level of allowance are we going to give? All right, rather than being in shorts, they will be in trousers, loose trousers, and so on, and allow them be in their hijabs and so on. But they still participate in everything, okay? Be in your hijab and be on the drill square and march. We shall not excuse you from any of the activity, but we shall permit your sense of dressing because we have respect for your religion. Do you understand the point? So we'll give such allowance so that nobody gets offended once it comes to religion. Because we are very, very religious in this country, but we have no fear for God.
Well, security threat in northern Nigeria, of course, in some other parts, should NYSC be scrapped or not?
I don't see how we would want to contemplate scrapping the scheme. We should instead be thinking in the direction of reviewing the scheme to enable it fall in line with our national aspirations, to enable it fall in line with what the original idea conceived, to see how we can try to materialize that. And if, however, by virtue of time, that has been eroded or has been taken over, then we'll begin to come out with a new concept for the scheme itself.
The NYSC was actually born aftermath of the Nigerian Civil War.
Right.
And it's been there for over 4 decades now.
Yes.
Some have argued that maybe it has outlived its original idea. Do you see any relationship between the Civil War and the fight against terrorism at this time in Nigeria?
The problem with the NYSC is, again, a failure of leadership. If that scheme has lasted for 40 years, for 40 years we have not sat down to review the scheme, it means we are all sleeping. It means we are all sleeping. All the past very senior officers that have been in charge of that scheme, I want to believe one of them must have taken time up to sit down and articulate certain things that will go in as injects by means of saying, look, let's review this in this direction and so on. I expect the scheme itself to be able to bring together people of like minds to sit down and discuss the future of the NYSC and come out with a small, fine, good recommendation which should be handed over to the Minister of Education or to the President, who will look at it and say, look, can we implement this so that we redirect this scheme in a way that it will serve us better as a country?
Now, maybe what you're saying...
I personally feel that this scheme should be playing a great role in agriculture.
Okay.
But somehow, in our usual lackadaisical manner in this country, we have not looked in that direction. We are all blindfolded. All we just do is let them be there. They can play a very great role in agriculture. That you read biochemistry or medicine or law does not stop you from participating in that agri scheme. By now, we should have had industrial, what was it called? Agro farms, okay, that are of industrial nature, into which you bring in these chaps with their energy and what have you. And most of them will buy into the idea of agriculture. You post them into separate departments. Right now, some of the postings they receive, both in the private and public sector, you go there and you just see them wasting away. Wasting away. Most of them in the ministries are doing nothing. And in only those in the private sector are well used because whoever is sending for them really want, calling on them, really wants to use them.
Frankly speaking, would you say that the NYSC in its present state now is still relevant?
It is relevant, requiring a review.
No. That means you are given condition now in its very present state.
In its present state,
As
it has fallen short of expectations. In its present state, it has fallen short of expectations of Nigerians. And that is why Nigerians are looking at it as being irrelevant.
and you're saying if it continues in this state,
yes,
it will lose touch with its
completely it will
whole
become
essence.
irrelevant. I don't want to use the word irrelevant because the platform itself is highly relevant.
Okay.
But the platform is sick. It's like having a sick baby. And then I'm asking, do you think we still need this child? You still need your child. So know that the child is sick. The child is still very relevant to you. So know that the child is sick. It needs the attention of a doctor. That is how the NYSC is. The platform is sick, very sick, high fever. It needs real overhaul.
Who's the doctor in this case?
Good.
Can you put a name to the physician?
Well, since it's a federal agency, we must still look at the federal government. It is now the federal government who is like the father that will not say, which hospital do I go to before you say which doctor will attend to him. Am I going to a private hospital or to general hospital where they are on strike? And so on. So the federal government has got to sit down, pick Nigerians who have the wherewithal to be able to tinker with the original concept behind this scheme and be able to give us a paper that will direct this scheme and make it to fulfill the aspirations of our country and meet the national interest.
As big as this issue is it not surprising that we didn't hear much of it from the just concluded national confab in Abuja?
Well, I'm equally surprised. Maybe it's not one of the topical issues.
But we heard about the derivation and how to share the oil money, across board.
You should know that that's what will interest your politicians. 80% of them, they are politicians.
So are you saying that even the aftermath of the national confab might not necessarily impact positively on the future of the country?
Why not? Why not? It would.
Okay.
Excuse me, it would. But the issue is this. Are the outcome from the conference, will it be going before the National Assembly? Or would it be presented probably to the people who actually own?
Or subject to a referendum?
Yes, that's just it. Either a referendum or to the House, because it must be given a backing by law. Otherwise, I don't see what we want to do with that document. So, Mr. President must really, really, really think of
But
what
as
to
it
do.
is now, there's no law that permits a referendum in Nigeria. So except the National Assembly seats and, tamper with the law to accommodate that. But the way it is now, possibly the fate is going back into the fate of this confab is back at the floor of the chambers.
If it is going back to the floor of the chambers, I'm afraid. I mean, the House of National Assembly. I'm afraid because I must say this, and with every sense of responsibility, I do not have so much confidence in those guys. There are lots of things that are pending there, which till today we do not just know what is happening. Where's the PIB? What has gone wrong till now? What of the Constitution, which we said they should review? And so on. But when it borders on their personal welfare, under 2 minutes, they are done with that. Till today, can you tell me how much your senator earns? Can you tell me how much your member of House of Rep earns? Are these not basic information that should be at your disposal? Are they not being paid from your tax? Why are they hesitating to tell us how much they earn?
Well, as we begin to round up now, let's quickly touch on the involvement of the NYSC core members in the electoral process. As it is now, they work closely with INEC in elections. Do you see, how would you assess the performance thus far, and do you see them to be more involved in that process?
Splendid. I am very, very happy that they are being used in such capacities. Yes, I am really, really impressed. And I think so far, I have not felt disappointed with their, performance.
Okay.
Those are the sort of national call to duty that we should be getting them involved. Those are the sort of things. I feel really impressed when I pass around and see them. I don't know why this emotional touch, maybe because I have had the cost to, train them and things like that in the past. But I feel very impressed that, yes, these are young leaders. Let's imbibe into them this nationalistic feeling, build their patriotic zeal. These are people who will be leaders tomorrow. Expose them so they begin to know that our elections in this country have problems. As they are participating, they are seeing the problems. Tomorrow they will be in positions to fix some of these problems.
Are you hopeful that they won't get drowned in the corrupt system? Because how much of change do you see them bringing into this process?
I'm an optimist. My optimism at times fails only when it has to do with our politicians, because I see a lot of them as people who are incorrigible. But for those who are still fresh, who are yet to be part of this lot, I have so much optimism, when I discuss issues concerning them. More so very young Nigerians like this, the coppers and so on. These are future leaders. I have every hope and confidence that they can take this country out of the doldrum, which these politicians have pushed us into.
It's all right. Colonel Stan Lambo, thank you once again
I appreciate it.
finding time to join us. The NYSC scheme was created in 1973 in a bid to reconstruct, to rebuild, and no doubt to reconcile the Nigerian nation that was after the Civil War. Well, there are a lot of correlation and relationship now as regards what transpired in the 1960s and what is happening in Nigeria now in 2014. You'll recall that this is our centenary year and this is our 15th year of uninterrupted democracy. Of course, our 54th year of civilian rule. Of independence, rather, as the case may be. The involvement of this young graduate, young Nigerians in the ongoing national building and development has been our focus on the show today, especially in the light of security threat in northern Nigeria. As we speak now, corpers have been redeployed from certain 7 northern states in Nigeria. There's been a lot of calls too as regards scrapping this scheme in the face of security threat. Of course, we got a lot of optimism from the retired colonel who believes that this scheme is pivotal to the development of Nigeria. We hope that you've made your decision, and we hope the government too will do what is right in the light of developing issues in that area. Thank you for joining us on the Saturday edition of Cool Digest. I'm Nifemi Ogunto. It continues tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Stay with us for the top of the hour news. Don't go away.
You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Cool TV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.